In this video, we're going to talk about the American dream. Is the American dream still achievable? A lot of my videos are about investing in real estate and investing for passive income and achieving financial freedom. So if this is something that interests you, just stick around for the whole video. So after World War II is really where the American dream got crystallized into meaning having a house, having a happy family, and being able to go on summer vacation. And for some of them, it was about also getting a degree. And the GI Bill really helped these people, these men returning from the war, to kind of get that dream happen, get their dream home, and then get their degree if they wanted to get that, to get their education. So that's a generation that we call baby boomers for the most part. And they expected reasonably that their children would also be able to do the same thing. They expected their generation, in fact, to build on that and achieve even more. But more recently, what we're seeing in the last decade or so, we've seen that this idea of owning a home and getting a degree in education is getting more difficult as time goes by. And this is why I'm asking the question, is the American dream still achievable, or does this American dream need to be modified or needs to evolve into something else? So this concept about upward mobility, where the children can make better living than their parents, has really been under a lot of pressure recently. And in fact, we're seeing that the next generation, if you look at the millennials and even as we approach with the Gen Zs, we're seeing that they have a hard time even affording the basic necessities. So for them to actually go and think about buying a house is pretty difficult. So there was an interesting infographic by Visual Capitalist. They published that a couple of weeks ago. They were showing that only half of the people 30 years or older would make more than their parents at the same age. This is incredible statistics, because that means that half of them are not going to make it. They're not even going to make the same amount of money as their parents at that same age. Right, for the baby boomers, I mean, having a good job, good benefits, and all of that, being able to afford a house, this is not what's happening right now. The current generations, the millennials, and we can also include my generation, the Gen Xers, we didn't have the benefits, we didn't have the same kind of level of benefits that our parents had. So the whole idea for Gen Xers and mainly millennials is, having a home and having kids and having a car and all of that. All of that is it's put in jeopardy because we have, the big student loans, and we don't have the benefits, and the cost of living is increasing more rapidly than the salary. So what has caused this shift? I mean, we're talking about wage stagnation. We're talking about increased cost of living that's outpacing the inflation. So these are the two main components. But it's also the erosion of benefits and the social safety net. So these factors, I'm going to go in details about these factors, but this is really has caused the millennials and future generations to rethink the American dream. What does that mean to achieve the American dream? It's going to be hard for the people that are working full-time to achieve that American dream, because even that full-time job, that 9-to-5 job, is also under stress, is being modified as we speak. On top of that, you add the student loans and all of that. So you need to, the solution is really to go and build a passive income portfolio and think a little bit differently, so that you are ready in the future to retire eventually, early retirement and stuff like that, and also bridge some of the gaps in incomes that you might have with the new economy. So let's look at the wage stagnation for a moment. So the hourly rate in 2018 was about 22, the average hourly rate was $22 an hour. And in 1964, it was $20, again in 2018 dollars, right? So I'm adjusting for inflation here. So that represents 11% increase over a 54-year period. That's not very much. That's actually equates to 0.2% annual increase above the inflation. So this basically, let's just call it no wage increase, because the wage increase have just barely kept up with inflation. So also, according to the Economic Policy Institute, they were saying that in the last 30 years, the wages at the top 1% have grown 154%, and while the bottom 90% has seen a 17% increase only over the last 30 years. So this is a significant difference. So again, there's an income distribution that is causing some of the problems that we're seeing today. So because the income for the bottom 90% has basically been stagnating, this is why so many people in the newest generation, like the millennials and the Gen Z, most of them won't be able to make the same amount of money as their parents. So some of the reasons for the income stagnation have to do with this unequal distribution of income, but it also includes like technology, automation in general. Also the offshore resourcing, being able for some companies to basically hire people offshore to do the work. Also independent contracting. So the whole idea of not having to hire employees anymore, and corporation basically hiring more and more independent contractors that are more disposable if you don't need them. So more and more corporations are pushing governments and workers into more and more of a gig economy where everybody is an independent contractor. It sounds good at the surface, but this is really shedding a lot of the protections that an employee has in terms of unemployment insurance, in terms of health benefits, etc., group benefits for healthcare. So once you're not an employee anymore, and you're an independent contractor, that means it's fall onto you to pay for this social benefit. So you pay the employer and the employee portion. You have to pay your health care insurance, employer-employee portion. So it sounds good in practice, but the only one benefiting from a gig economy is the corporation. Recent adoption in California of Proposition 22 that was really pushed by Uber and Lyft to basically allow their drivers to be independent contractors and not forcing Uber and Lyft to recognize them as employees is really it will definitely open the gate to other companies to push for these for more and more of these regulations about employees to be removed, and allowing more and more independent contractor, and then expanding this whole gig economy. So wage stagnation would not be such a big deal if the cost of living would have kept the same pace. But this is not the case, as we're going to go through some of these costs that have significantly increased and outpaced inflation. So one of them is health benefits. So that has risen about 3% per year above the inflation over the last 10 years. And this is not taking into account if you're an independent contractor. This is just assuming that you're working for a company. If you're working for yourself as an independent contractor, these costs have increased even more. We talked about getting a degree and the importance of getting a degree. Tuition, the average annual cost of tuition for a 4-year institution has risen from $16,000 in 1995 to $27,000 roughly in 2017, both using the 2017 dollars, so basically taking into consideration inflation. So that's a 2.3% annual increase over that period above inflation. So that again, this is why what we're seeing is that people cannot afford to go and get a degree, and then why the student loans and the student debt is so much higher than it used to be. We can also look at the median house price. That has increased by from $200,000 to $300,000 over the same period. So that's between 95 and 2017, again adjusted for inflation. So that's a 1.8% more of an annual increase on top of inflation. So the dream of having your degree, having a home, so all these things this is why this American dream is kind of under stress right now, and this is why I'm asking the question, is this American dream still achievable, or do we need to really think differently? So we've talked about wage stagnation, we've talked about the cost increase in terms of health benefit, in terms of tuition, in terms of median house price, but these trends are not limited to these alone. They're also, you can see them also in gas prices, you can see them in childcare, you can see them in car prices, so all these things. So I see similar trends in gas prices, childcare, car prices as well. So all of them have drastically increased over time above the inflation. And while the wages, basically as we discussed, being at the same level over that same period. So the situation is not completely hopeless. So yes, if you look at the baby boomers and previous generations, yes, they could be more complacent about their future. Today's millennials and the younger generations, well, they can't be so complacent. They have to take a more proactive approach to secure their future and achieve their goals. And this is why I'm recommending and discussing so often the need to focus on financial freedom, to invest in things that will generate passive income, because eventually you're not going to have that 9-to-5 full-time employee position anymore, either because of because you want to retire, you want to retire early, or because your job is being transformed into an independent contractor position in the future, and then you may end up with some significant gaps in income as you finish a project or something like that. They don't need you for a couple of months. That would be a couple of months where you don't have income. So you're gonna have to be prepared for that eventuality, and having a passive income portfolio and starting to build a passive income portfolio to fill that gap and get ready for retirement is going to be very, very critical. But it's not that bad, right? A passive income portfolio of, let's say, rental properties and all of that has a lot of advantages. First of all, it generates passive income, so that's critical. It also has a lot of tax benefits, so that even if you are an independent contractor, then you can use that against your income to offset some of your income and pay less taxes. Even as a full-time employee, you can use that to offset your income to a certain degree. So there's a lot of advantages there. Obviously, retirement is another key component. Now that we got rid of, most companies have got rid of their defined benefit pension plan, then having a rental property to generate cash flows on a regular basis is going to help you retire. And finally, leave a legacy for your children. You don't want your children to start from ground zero again. So this whole concept of starting from ground zero, generation after generation, has to change. So investing in passive income, there's a lot of different ways to do that. My favorite way, especially if you're working full time, either as an independent contractor or as a full-time employee, is to get turnkey single-family rentals. They're easy, they're ready to go, they have a tenant in place, they've been renovated, they have property management, all you need to do, and they're cash flowing from day one. So you just get them and then you can you know, start generating already some positive cash flow. So that's my recommendation. There are other ways to do that. Some of them require a little bit more time, a little bit more skills. But yeah, I mean, this is the first one. But focusing on that passive income investment is very, very critical. And I recommend that you start looking at it as soon as possible and start investing. So is the American dream still alive? Well, you know, maybe not in the same form that it used to be, but it is still very achievable to have. I think right now the new concept of the American dream is freedom, is financial independence, financial freedom. I think this is the new goal for this for the millennials and the younger generations. So is this still possible? Yes, it is possible, but it requires really a mindset. The old mindset of the previous generations about working full-time and being taken care of by your company, by your employer over 25 years, getting your gold watch and retiring happy without worry. That's not going to happen again. So unless you take action, unless you change your mindset and you start investing. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you have a better understanding of kind of what's happening with the American dream, and not be too focused on in the past, and really be very adaptable about what's happening around you, and then changing your focus to financial freedom. A lot of my videos are about real estate investing, financial freedom. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you watch the other videos on my channel. Make sure that you like this video and that you subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you.